All right, so today's full self-driving video is going to be in the city of Philadelphia. We've done some previous full self-driving videos outside the city. We were in the suburbs, we were over in South Jersey, but today we're gonna be in the streets of Philadelphia. You can look all around me. I mean, there's a lot going on here. It's gonna be interesting to see how the car handles people, bikers, other car drivers, obviously other drivers on the road, how it handles stop signs, intersections. I mean, the city of Philadelphia has a really fast-paced flow of traffic. A lot of people blow stop signs, a lot of people rolling stop. I mean, there's a lot going on, and also the roads are kind of horrible. So the route that we have today is just to kind of go a little bit through Fishtown and like the Northern Liberties section here. We're gonna head kind of through some of the tighter streets. We've got a really tough intersection coming up right in the beginning. That's gonna be interesting to see how this car handles it. Then we're actually gonna jump on the highway, take 95 and then 676 into Center City, kind of take a spin around City Hall. Then we'll fly down the Ben Franklin Parkway, go to the Art Museum area and Boathouse Row. Then we'll drive down drive down Kelly Drive to Manayunk. I don't know if we're going to get that far because I don't want this video to be too terribly long, but I do know that I want to at least make it to the Art Museum from there. Okay, so we are driving. We're on our way. We'll wait for a full self-driving to kick in. Sometimes, I've noticed when you turn it on, it takes a second for it to go. So here we are. Now we're on. It thinks that person's like a mailbox or something. So I turned full self-driving on, and right now it's pausing because we've got people coming from behind us, which is nice. I figured, honestly, that I was going to have to, go... I wonder, see, it's seeing these cars up here. It's seeing these cars up here, and I wonder if... Is it going to go? Okay, it's not going. I'm going to give it a little bit of gas here. So right now I'm hitting the accelerator on my own to go. For some reason, it was just kind of pausing there. All right, so first stop sign is up here. We, of course, are dealing with a lot more than we did out in the suburbs. People walking, things like that. Potholes, of course. So the city of Philadelphia is crazy in terms of traffic. I know because I am one of those people that drive in the city all day long. Honestly, one of the reasons why I think I didn't get full self-driving earlier is because my safety score was so low because of driving here in the city. Ugh, it's a little tough on the brakes here. It stops me, I feel like, so far back from the stop sign and where I actually should be stopping. Sees this person? Do you see the person? Yeah, there we are. So there's a person to our left and it kind of stopped. And then let's see what's it going to do now. It's going to wait. It's going to wait. Is it going to let me go? Thanks. All right. It's kind of going slow. Again, I feel like if people know the city of Philadelphia, I'm probably going to get cursed out for how the car is driving because it's going to be a little bit slow and a little bit more cautious, but that's what we've got to do when testing out full self-driving. So, I think the one area that was kind of similar to what we experienced in Morristown was Main Street. So Main Street was kind of like what we're experiencing here. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of traffic. Cars slowing down because that person's opened its door, which is nice. I've tried using full self-driving in a completely open parking lot. Didn't really like it all that much because there wasn't many lines. There's a huge pothole right there, but I'll let it take it. All right, now it's turning. Pretty good thus far. Now, this road is a little bit strange. You know what? It didn't end up going through the intersection that I wanted it to go through, but we can save that for another video. All right, slamming on the brakes here. A little bit tough. So here to the left, there's this crazy intersection where it's kind of like a 5-point road. Two of the ways don't really have stop signs. It's really bizarre. I mean, that's just kind of what you get with cities in the Northeast because the traffic, the cities really weren't planned. They just kind of continued to pop up. So you kind of have these crazy roads that all come together. I kind of wish it went through there, but oh well. So one of the biggest things that I talked about in my previous full self-driving video was the visualization, right? Being able to see everything around the car. And that's just further amplified in the city because there's so much going on with people riding bikes, people driving cars. What is it gonna do here? Alrighty. Yep, so this road is a little bit strange because the middle is kind of like a road, but it's also kind of like where the trolley drives. So people drive in the middle and there was really no lane or there's really no curb back there, or not line, I guess you can say. So took control really quickly just because I didn't want it to veer over to the left. again, I mean, this is like city driving. This is so much different than driving over in the suburbs where you have lines on the road. Things are a little bit more open. There's going to be these different situations that you encounter, different types of geography across all the different cities that the car is just going to learn how to adapt to, and it's going to need to learn how to adapt to, because like even this intersection is so bizarre. You have like the trolley pickup here on the right side. You've got like right in the middle of the street, you have these poles, right? Like just so entirely weird. There's also like barely any lines on the street. So, I mean, this is a really tough environment for a car that is full self-driving to kind of go through. Like again, you know, it's kind of putting on its turn signal here. And this is like kind of a street, but it's also like kind of not, like this lane here. So it's gonna try to cut over and get in front of people here. All right. So pretty interesting first take here using full self-driving in the city. That was pretty much probably the most difficult part we'll have to go to. Now it's just basically 2 lanes going up, lights, lights, lights. So that's kind of what we're gonna be hitting for the next couple of minutes here. But it's very interesting to see how it handles these unique terrains and these unique environments, because again, like you have this middle trolley lane, you can kind of drive on some of it, and then some parts you can't drive on. It looks like it wants to get over, but it's not necessarily getting over. I'm just gonna cancel. Yeah, the city's just kind of like a different animal, because here again, like these 2 lanes are gonna split because of the median here in the middle. That is, of course, kind of like that trolley pickup area. So I think before I got sidetracked here, one of the big things that is just like super impressive is the visualization in the city. I mean, there's so much information that the car needs to render and so much information that the car needs to see all at once, and it does it flawlessly. Now, the car that I have here is a 2021 Model Y Performance. So I still have the Intel Atom processor for the infotainment. I don't have the AMD Ryzen chip, but regardless, even with a vehicle that is, you know, now coming up on about 2 years old, it's still able to render everything around me very fluidly. It displays it very fluidly, which is nice. The reason I'm kind of putting down my windows is because I had a little bit of an issue last time where my camera continued to overheat. So I hope that doesn't happen this go around. But this whole interchange right here is very interesting because it continues to change. Like literally every single day there's a brand new traffic pattern. They're doing a lot of construction around here. So the car, I mean, look, the car is, you know, following pretty well. So now we're getting more into the direct Fishtown area of Philadelphia up here. This area used to be very industrial. Really, honestly, wasn't the best place to live, but they've cleaned it up. They're actually putting in some really nice apartment complexes, condos, homes. Straight ahead, Toll Brothers is building some stuff up here. So far, look, I was super confident in full self-driving when, oh, you know what? I'm actually going to make the visualization full screen too. Some people were talking about that last time about full screen visualization, which I agree. I think that it's great to see that visualization, but also sometimes it's kind of nice to see like also where you're going on the map here. Pretty nice turn here. My one gripe with the left-hand turns that the car was making when I was over in Morristown in the suburbs was that when the car was making a left, it seemed to like jerk to the left and then continue to try to recorrect itself. So very impressed with that left-hand turn. And also, you know what? I didn't even know that this lane ended. So it's nice that the car got me over. I was wondering why the car merged me over to the right, and it actually did a good job at doing that. So up here, we're going to have a couple of more tight, I would say, city streets for the car to kind of traverse, and then we'll jump on 95, fly down 95 through 676, and kind of spin around City Hall. Streets in the Northeast are just so tough. I mean, especially for being like a driver behind the wheel. There's just so much going on, so congested, so many people. There's barely, look, see, the car's kind of moving me over to the right to then turn me left. Kind of strange, but that was something else that I think I noticed in my drive with my buddy Sam when he came with, was like the car was really trying to overcorrect itself. There was also actually a time in an undocumented drive where I wasn't driving where this truck that was kind of coming towards me was a little over the yellow line. So then my car decided, hey, I need more room, let me get to the right. And I ended up almost like running into a traffic light. And I didn't. I mean, I didn't even have to really take over. But again, it's just kind of like the car's trying to overcorrect itself. But then through that overcorrection, it could potentially also like create some other sort of, disaster. Like it could try to overcorrect and move you over to the right. But then if it doesn't see a traffic light, it might hit it. So that was pretty cool. The car, and even me, I couldn't see that there was a green light there because of the truck in the way up here. And it actually kind of slowed down before it could see the green light, and then it motored on through. So I'm going to quickly remove our next stop here. So I'll edit the trip, remove here, and then we'll drive into City Hall. So it's making a left up here at this light. Probably will go down this street here. I actually wonder now that I just switched up the route, is it going to continue to make this left? Nope, see, it's actually changing up now. It wants to go straight. The reason being is because I changed up the route. So that's pretty cool. See, look at this. Like okay, so it's making a left here. Yeah, so changing up the route. Now this is a tight street. These are the streets, like, personally I avoid because I don't want to scrape my rims up. So many people in my previous video were talking that I care too much about my rims and I have a cracked windshield, which is true. I mean, I definitely need to get the windshield fixed, but Tesla, I actually reached out to Tesla about fixing my windshield, and they said, we can't fix windshields right now, good with third party. So that's pretty interesting. I guess they're probably just super busy. So it handles a lot of the obstacles like on the road pretty well. This is going to be interesting. There's not a lot of room to look to the right here. Biker, yeah, see him, nice. So it's handling a lot of the environment very well, especially like the people, which I think is huge. Now, again, this is interesting because to the right here, we have, let's see, I definitely want to look to the right. It's so difficult, even for me, to see around some of these objects. But it's clear after this truck. Oh, there's a person right there. I think it's going to let this person to my right pass by. Yeah, just highlighted him in blue. There. Yeah, so I mean, I've had the opportunity to pull out now for a couple of times, but the car is being a little extra cautious. It's totally good now, though. Yeah, cool. Awesome. A little bit of a tight turn there, but hey, it works. Awesome. So what I was saying is towards the beginning of the drive, I guess really going back to some of my previous full self-driving videos, like I really think that the car handled the suburbs well. Even driving through some of the areas, that were a little bit more congested, it was like a 6, 7, 8 out of 10. Like it did a really good job in a lot of different areas to the point where I would have felt comfortable on my daily drive just jumping in the car, letting it do its thing, even when it's here on this beta. But after what I saw on Girard Avenue back there, I mean, again, that's a super difficult street, but still, it's going to be interesting to see now, knowing what I know from there, how it handles like Center City, where the roads are a lot better. Like you got a lot of paved roads, like perfectly paved roads. A lot of them are well striped, so there's a lot of good lines on the road. And also just like the streets are generally a little bit wider, so hopefully the car does a little bit better down there than it did when we were driving on Girard. Now, back there, had a little bit of a mishap just because I switched up the navigation just so that I can kind of continue on the same route. So I really won't fault the car there because it had to make some last minute decisions. But it's pretty cool that it was able to kind of change on a dime like that and make sure that I was going the right way. Now we're kind of coming back into this area on the interchange where literally it continues to change every single day. This actual 95 exit has been pretty much similar the entire time. So hopefully the car knows how to merge me onto the road. The one thing is with full self-driving beta, like the actual highway driving isn't really unchanged from what you'd get on autopilot. So this visualization here will actually go back to the old visualization that you get when you're on the highway and when you're using full self-driving. I kind of wish it would use this new visualization when you're on the highway too, just because it shows so much more information, not only about the road itself, but about the cars around you. All right, so I need to go 95 south, so this car needs to get over 3 lanes right now. We need to get over 3 lanes. Actually, we need to get over 1 lane. It's gonna slam on the brakes. Nice. Still a little unsure. We need to get over one lane here. All right, I'm gonna hit the turn signal here so it gets over. So see, like right now, it is keeping me in the left lane, and I'm gonna need to get in the right lane. I am just going to disengage here and just kind of punch the accelerator to get over there on the side. You see that? You see that guy? Props to him. That was sweet. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna have to kind of punch the accelerator just to get up and around these people. The beauty of having a Tesla. All right, we will go ahead and throw full self-driving back on now. So a little bit strange that the car didn't try to get me over to the right. Again, it just kind of comes down to that interchange being so different from like day to day, week to week, month to month. So maybe it's just not registered in the map yet. It is nice though, like just on a personal note, on 95 right here, they've kind of finished up a good amount of the construction. So it's kind of went from being like 2 lanes to now like 3 or 4 lanes, which is great. Just want to make sure full self-driving is turned on. Yes, it is. So again, like we're now back to pretty much the old visualization being here on the highway. So whenever you get onto, a major interstate, it is going to kind of revert you back to the standard view. You don't see people's brake lights. You don't see people's turn signals. Obviously, you don't see people's doors open because they're not going to be opening their doors on the highway. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know when they're going to bring that full self-driving visualization to the highway, but it would be really nice just to kind of keep things consistent. So we've got to stay left here, which the car will know to do. Yep, there it goes. So yeah, autopilot on the highway is largely unchanged. This is where autopilot really shines. I mean, drive through the city is really no problem. In the future, it'd be nice to kind of know that I can completely, fully, 100% trust the car driving through the city. But I'm pretty much already at that level here on the highway. Personally, I don't use autopilot much driving through tighter areas on the highway, like going through 676, which kind of goes down underneath through the city. I usually just end up driving this myself because it gets a little bit hectic sometimes. But like when I'm on the more open highways, like 476, or if I'm like the PA Turnpike, or if I'm jumping on, 95 as it continues down, or even if I'm taking the Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway, all those highways are great for using full self-driving and just autopilot in general. So things do start to get a little bit hectic here just because you've got people merging on as well as trying to exit. So we want to take that Broad Street exit right there, meaning my car's got to get over into the right lane. Looks like it already wants to start thinking about doing that. I'll probably use this opportunity to just jump over. So we'll pretty much do a loop around City Hall, and then after having looped around, we'll pick back up on the Ben Franklin Parkway, head down to the Art Museum. I would say probably the hardest part of this drive is over. We kind of got it out of the way in the beginning. I'll definitely do some more drives up in Fishtown just because that is probably one of the most hectic areas. South Philly is also pretty crazy too in terms of the streets that they have. And again, I'm kind of just continuing to think about like things that I can do, situations I can put the car in to kind of like make it think almost and see what it can do. Like in Fishtown, I really want to go back and try and hit that 5-point intersection because it is kind of crazy. Now the roads leading up to City Hall are a little bit, I would say, rough. Not rough in terms of safety-wise, but the actual roads themselves, I'm not sure. I don't remember there being, no, they actually are, no, you know what, they must have just repaved these. Got nice lines and everything. So we're definitely going to hit a good amount of, I would say, traffic driving through Center City. You could almost say that it probably benefits the car because it's going to be driving a little bit slower, gives it more time to think. Personally, I hate being that guy, like when I'm driving, that has to be the one that's slowing people down, which is kind of the way that I feel with full self-driving, just because it's still kind of learning. I wonder if I put the turn signal on now, would it get into the left lane? So would it pull me up? It's thinking about it. There are some cars coming up. It's probably thinking about what to do. Sees that car in blue. Someone's beeping. Nah, I'll turn it off. I was actually going to be surprised. It looked like it wanted to, but I was wondering, just because you have these solid lines. All right, it's going to straighten itself out. There you go. Nice. So City Hall is up here on our left. We, of course, will spin around, head out towards the Art Museum. And, you know, I don't know how long this video is thus far, but I don't think that a drive down to Manayunk would be all that long. That'll be riding down Kelly Drive, which is kind of tight, really windy, and people fly on that road. I mean, I don't even know what the speed limit is. Speed limit's got to be anywhere between 35 to 45 miles an hour. People do 80. People do 80 down Kelly Drive, especially they get their bikes out, like their dirt bikes or their sport bikes, and they just rip down that road. I don't ride motorcycles. I don't understand how people do, because I feel like one pothole and you're done. Like, I'm complaining about potholes on my car because I don't want to dent the rims. But like, if you hit a big pothole on a bike, like, I just feel like you're done, right? You get ejected from the bike. I'm no motorcycle rider though. Now, I'm just seeing with my eyes right now, way up ahead, it looks like we have a little bit of construction. I'm not sure if that is going to impact us at all. I'm not sure if we'll hit that construction zone, but look at the visualization. That is crazy. It sees all the people, it sees all the cars. Super impressive. It even sees cars in front of the car in front of me that I can't see. Now, the traffic around City Hall does get dicey just because there's a lot of people, you know, kind of entering the circle. There's a lot of people continuing around the circle. There's a lot of people exiting the circle, so. All right, so I figured I would just cut out some of the red lights because it might be a little bit boring to sit here and listen to me talk while my car sits and waits for the light to go. So I'll probably cut out red lights and then just continue on with the green light as my car moves. So in regards to the map here, we've got to spin around City Hall. The inner lanes will kind of let us continue around. So we've got to get into those left lanes. You know what? It's actually probably going to stop me right here, isn't it? Yep, it's going to stop me right here. Okay, so we need to remove City Hall, hit done, and let the car figure out what it wants to do. Yep, so now, oh boy. I'm gonna hit the accelerator here because I want to get through this intersection and not get killed. But now it is like making that last decision, like saying, hey, we got to get over. At least it knows, which is nice. It's really making its way over. Cool. Kind of coming to a stop. Nice. So last minute again, I kind of threw a wrench in there and said, hey, we got to go around, and it's doing it. A little bit of the lines kind of suck on this road, so it kind of looked like it had a little bit of issues back there, but now we should be back on track. So all right, I equate some of these issues to me myself, just continuing to switch up the route on it. It's slamming on the brakes. I don't know why it did that. There's a green light and everything. My laptop's in the back seat and just went flying. Oh well. Okie doke. So I would say so far my city drive rating is like 3. It's like a 3. It's like it works. It's doing it, but would I use it on the regular? No. Definitely wouldn't. I mean, this is by far the most challenging, I would say, environment. So, you know, there's that. All right, so we finally got the green light to inch on through. I mean, this is where full self-driving, though, does make the biggest difference, is when there's just stop and go traffic and you're just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. Like right now, I think that no matter the situation, I'd probably definitely use full self-driving just because, you know, there's traffic. What is it going to do here? Is it going to keep going through? Man, Tesla said, I have the right of way. I will go through your yellow light. It actually is really impressive, though, how the car is able to kind of make that decision and know almost every single time whether or not it should go through a yellow light or whether it's like, hey, last minute, it's a red light, we're not going to be able to make it through. Now we've got a high concentration of people here. My car is putting on the left turn signal, even though it really doesn't have to because it's a circle. But we're going to continue straight through the circle down here, like so, and then jump on the JFK Boulevard. We do have a couple of cool, I would say, obstacles to face. It does get a little bit tight down here. There is a circle, so should be pretty cool. Doesn't know if it wants to highlight this guy to my left in blue or not. It's going to slam on the brakes because that guy's going to go in front of me. I mean, good on Tesla. I'm going to take control because it's going to hit the car on the right. All right, so had to take control there. My car was kind of veering to the car on the right, which happened to be another Tesla. Didn't want to have a Tesla on Tesla collision here. I kind of chalked that up to, all right, yeah, that was a really rough merge. I kind of chalked this up to, and this was a nice merge. I kind of chalked that up to that dude, like kind of just flying past me on the bike. The car gave him the right of way, which I mean, I would have hit him if he didn't, which is nice. I'm going to just hit the accelerator to go around this guy. It's almost like, see, I don't know what it's doing here. I'm going to take control. The reason I'm doing this is just because there's a police officer behind me and I really don't need to be getting pulled over for using full self-driving right now. So just took control. Didn't want to be pulled over. All right, we will re-engage here. So, yeah, I mean, overall, kind of impressed. It handled a lot of aspects of this drive well, but it also handled a lot of this drives like really, I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat it horribly. Like a lot of things I would just straight up not do or not even tolerate. So I think that like the suburb streets does a great job on, but the city streets need some work. And I'm getting beeped at. See, and then I'm gonna continue through here, and then it just slams on the brakes again. So that's like the biggest issue here, guys, is like what I'm facing, and it's almost kind of getting frustrating now, is that it almost feels like there's so many obstacles around the car that it almost is trying to be too overcautious. And I guess maybe like when you think about it, as you're kind of making these decisions, like you see somebody crossing on the street, you make eye contact with them through the windshield, and you can almost know immediately, like, hey, he wants the right of way, let him go. Or maybe like, oh, hey, he knows to stop, and I'm just going to continue to drive. So you kind of have that human element of communication kind of taken out of the loop, which, does kind of make this a little bit more difficult. Also, the fact that it's a beta makes it a little bit difficult. But now, all right. So I said like as we're coming out, I wonder, is it going to go? Yeah, I mean, I would have continued through, so I was wondering if the car would have done the same. Now, I think that now we're actually probably getting to the easiest part of the drive. So it kind of was like going from the hardest to the next hardest, now down to probably the easiest part. These are all more open roads. We're kind of driving out of the city now, more into the, you could call it the suburb area. Yeah, it's making these turns nice. This does get a little confusing up here because JFK splits off into kind of like a local and an express lane, if you want to call that. Don't know why it's stopping in the middle of the intersection or right now. Like, why is it stopping right now? Just comes with comes with a complete stop in the middle of nowhere. Again, I mean, I know it's kind of a little bit confusing because you've got the two different lanes. You've got this lane, you've got that lane on the right. Maybe the GPS, because I'm not looking at the map, maybe the GPS was trying to route me down the local over there on the right side, and it just needed to give itself a second to reroute. I feel like in that scenario, though, even if it's not properly following the GPS, personally, like, I'd prefer the car to just keep driving. Like, don't stop me in the middle of the entire road. Just keep moving. There's also issues right now where, I mean, I don't know what the GPS is showing. Let's see. So the GPS shows to keep going straight. So yeah, but I mean, if the GPS was wrong in this case and it was like, hey, make a right here, and it didn't know that you weren't allowed to make a right here, the one sign that the full self-driving can't read yet is a no turn on red sign, or a no turn on right, or whatever, no turn. So it's kind of very limited in terms of the signs that it's able to read. And a lot of the times I'm sitting there and the car makes a right turn on red when you're not allowed to make a right on red. And obviously there's good reason for that, where like visibility is low. So if there's low visibility for a human that is like driving, it's going to make it even more difficult on the car to actually make that decision and actually make that turn. So my whole thing about like when driving the suburbs was like, the car has it down. The car knows what to do when driving. It just needs to be made more smooth. Like, that was kind of like my general, I guess you could say, thoughts on it. But now I'm almost in the boat of like, the car still needs to do a lot of learning in the city, and it also needs to get smoother. Like, I think that in the suburbs, it is really close. We've got to get in the right lane here, so let's see. The car is going to want to make that. And I'm guessing it's going all the way to the right. So, like, in this situation, I would have just gotten over one lane and kept driving, but it, for some reason, wanted to get me all the way over to the right. There's just little things like that where, like, you know, you kind of have, like, your daily driving habits. You know the streets around where you're driving, you know, because you've been driving them so much around your local area, whether it's your work, whether it's your home. And you just kind of know, like, the general direction that you want to be. So the car froze a little bit there because it couldn't see the light, and now it's solid, so it's picking back up. But yeah, it's like, you know kind of how to maneuver the streets, whereas your car is like a baby when it comes to driving the streets. So, I mean, I was actually going through an area, hit the brakes a little there. I was actually going through an area where there was like, probably nobody's ever driven a Tesla before. Like, there's no data on those roads whatsoever, and my car was kind of wonking out a little bit because it was like a little bit of construction, no lines on the road anywhere. So, but it was cool to see. I'm going to get into the left lane here just so that we can kind of pick up the speed a little bit getting down to Manayunk, and also I know that specifically on this road, the right lane is just like riddled with potholes and manholes, and there's a lot of like drainage on the right side, so you kind of have a lot of these dips down. So we're now in the Fairmount area. I don't want to get over. Use turn signal to cancel. I don't want to get over. Keep driving. Drive straight. Oh, you know why? Okay, so this is actually completely my fault. I did not take Boathouse Row out. So I'll take the blame for that. Now it knows to keep going. So the car, I put in Boathouse Row, this right here to the left, as our location of where to go. Just completely didn't take it out. See, like, I understand people want to see this full self-driving visualization, but even, like, just sometimes, like, looking at the map gives me that visual cue of, like, where to go and what to think. So now Kelly Drive has got some tight turns. As I mentioned, like, people ride on this road doing 80 miles an hour, but I don't think we'll be doing that with full self-driving. I think that we'll keep it nice and slow. There are some times too where the lines in the middle are faded pretty bad. That's just like par for the course anywhere in the Northeast, because you've got the snow, you've got the salt, you've got the plows, you've got the cold weather. It's great. You go down to Florida and everything is like perfectly lined no matter what. Now, the reason I put in like a local cemetery up here, my reasoning behind that is because I want the car was actually going to route me to drive down 76, but I wanted to instead showcase driving on Kelly Drive with it. And again, I mean, look at the visualization. You know, it's not as impressive as being in the city because you don't have, I'm going to pump up the speed a little bit. You don't have, you know, all the people, all the cars, all the parked cars, but it is really impressive to see that it can kind of pick up those cars coming at you. Whereas when you're driving with full self-driving, you know, the old visualization, it would sometimes pick up a car at the very last minute. It was like right there. But now, like, we can already see those cars coming towards us, which is super impressive. All right, real quick, I'm going to jump in here and remove our next stop so that we can end up in Manayunk. So I think in total I had, 2 or 3 times that I actually disengaged autopilot. Honestly, that's more than I expected. You know what? I don't even really know what I expected, to be honest, because city driving is just a different animal. This is not my very first time trying full self-driving in the city. All the other times that I've tried full self-driving, it's honestly handled itself a lot better. It just seems that this go around, I don't know, a little shaky. This is one of the tightest turns on Kelly Drive, so takes it pretty nice. Little bit tight there. We're hitting the rumble strips. Honestly, it's difficult not to hit the rumble strips on this road, though. This is another weird turn where it just like quickly darts to the right. No rumble strips there, though. That made a nice clean turn. Yeah, you've also got people turning left here, coming off from the side in these parking lots, so there's a lot going on. So overall, look, I mean, handled some of the aspects of the drive really well. I'll take the blame for some of the things just from switching around the location on the map and trying to go one way when, you know, probably should have been going another way. You know, removing locations at the last minute, things like that. But there was other times throughout the drive where the car really, really struggled. I had a commenter on one of the previous videos mention that driving in New York City is basically impossible just because of the amount of people and the amount of stuff going on. And I mean, I totally agree. I mean, when you're driving in the city, you need to be a little bit aggressive because you need to kind of like be assertive, like, hey, even though there's people walking and kind of running that red hand, like the red stop hand, you know, you've got to be assertive and say, look, I'm going, and start to inch your car through. Whereas the car is like, or I guess the Model Y with full self-driving, any Tesla, is like super passive. You know, it's like it doesn't want to put itself in a position where it could potentially get into a crash, God forbid. And look, I mean, I think that it's better that it's that way, especially right off of the bat, because I would rather just take control and make the change that I need to really quickly. And that's why, of course, you know, you're required to always be at the wheel, because if I was just sleeping this entire time, it wouldn't have been good. So I think I'm pretty much going to wrap up here. You know, we got a really good amount of footage from different spots, directly in the city, tight streets, larger streets, lots of lights, a little bit of highway action. We've also got kind of like this back road action here on Kelly Drive. So super excited to share this one with you guys. I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, kind of looking back here. Let's look back now in a year from now, 2, 3, 5, 10 years, and see how not only like the environment has changed, but also how transportation has changed, like how many cars are on the road potentially, or what the roads look like. And then also, of course, how full self-driving operates on those roads. We'll do this one last turn here, because this is kind of a weird turn. It like goes up and around and to the left, and then it kind of cuts right to the right. Hit the brakes a little bit, but for the most part handled it well. Okay, so that wraps up this full self-drive here through Philadelphia. We'll definitely be back to check it out a little bit more in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.